situations and circumstances around Nigeria and what is going on in Nigeria, you know. And over the last few days, some things have been happening in Edo State and also in Rivers State. And we have tried to look at all those things and see which way they're going and what direction they're going. And so we're trying to x-ray and analyze exactly where we are in this great Nigeria. Our guest for today is a very, very great friend of mine, and one of the people that really got into the political fray at a certain time in Nigeria, and he has been active in politics since. Did extremely well in business and also in oil and gas, and subsequently has now gone into the political fray. Born on the 11th of January 1967 in Port Harcourt, he received his education at All Saints Church School, Ibadan, Corona School, Victoria Island, and King's College, Lagos, and then King's School in in Cambridge, England.
Florian.
You know a good King's College boy when you see one, Jerry. You know, Florian Collegium. Okay, an alumnus of the Harvard Business School Advanced Management Program, fellow of the Blavatnik School of Government at Oxford, national, and a member of the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, senior executive course 43 in Jos, Kuru, Jos, Nigeria. Is the chairman of Fiber World Telecommunication Networks Limited, who provides comprehensive metropolitan fiber cable network services in Nigeria, and co-founder of Sahara Group, an energy conglomerate established in 1996, and so on and so forth, and also ran for political office for the position of the governor of Rivers State in the last dispensation. I think he ran in 2018 or so, and then 2023 as well. Okay, and I'm sure he has quite a lot to say about the foray into politics. But now we're looking at the issues, especially in Rivers State. And before we go into the conversation, Tony, I'll just ask my people to play.
Who is that beautiful lady behind us?
It's my son.
Hey, he has grown.
That's my daughter.
Yeah, there they
just
are.
back from school.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Discussions on Nigeria. Okay.
Stop!
Hey.
I said stop!
No,
I
stop.
think this is taking my presents
She's taking your present. She's taking them.
to my room.
Okay.
But these are
Okay, go ahead and play this. No, leave it.
At Emoa Local Government Council Secretariat, some youth blocked the entrance, chanting songs in solidarity with the FCT minister.
Described as enemies of the state.
The police had earlier withdrawn their personnel from the various councils as ordered by the IGP, and this left the way clear for the new chairman to take office. Following the burnings, they are yet to release any statement on the situation. The spontaneous outbreak of unrest isn't restricted just to Eleme, Ikwere, and Emoha. There have been multiple reports of pockets of violence in Oyibo and Onelga as well. Residents will be hoping that these spate of violence are brought under control sooner than later. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
My brother, what really is going on in Rivers State and what by extension is going on in Nigeria? Over to you.
Hold on. It's so first of all, let me thank you, Pastor. This has been a long journey for you and I. We've been on this quest that what can we do to unravel Nigeria for a long time. And I'm glad that we're here speaking to people who my belief is that they have joined conversations like this because they are interested in getting to the bottom of understanding Nigerian politics. So our responsibility here is a very straightforward and simple one. It is to break down the political dynamics in Nigeria in the simplest of forms so that people will see, understand, and know why they must be involved. And so let us start with what is happening in Rivers State today. What people see essentially is violence, arson, left, right, and center, accusations from one party to another. Nobody is sure who is in which party, and so on and so forth. But I think if that is what you are looking at, then we fail to understand the fundamental issue that is at stake. What is at stake? Local government elections ideally should be an election that every citizen is aware of in their wards within where they come from. So if you're in Lagos right now, so if you're in Lagos and you live, say, in Mushin, then people who live in Mushin, the citizens who live in Mushin should be very, very interested in who will be their councillor in Mushin. If you live in Etiosa, you should be very careful to know who the councillor of your ward within Etiosa is so that you can vote for them. But why is that the case? Because that is the fundamental basis. That's the base upon which every political party and political movement is built upon. Sadly, most citizens are not even aware of what is going on in terms of local government elections. If Rivers State did not end up in the news because of the fight between Fubara and Wike, and you did not see the arsons and all of this, where police here or not there, if none of these things had happened, the local government elections in Nigeria would have just come and gone, and no one will even know that an election happened. So, where are we currently? Because the general public is not aware, or they don't, even if they're aware, they're not interested, or they don't pay attention to local government elections, it forms the perfect basis for states to take control of the local government structure completely. So when you look across board, anywhere that you see a local government election holding, you essentially just see that the state machinery takes absolute control, and there's almost always inevitably a sweeping result whereby the state, headed by the state governor, and whatever party that he represents, wins everything. They win the councillor, they win the local government chairman, they win everything. Doesn't matter what the opposition is, the state usually will be the one to win it. And why is that the case? Many reasons, but let us look at the power dynamics behind that. The power dynamics then states that when you are in full control of your local governments, then not just is the money channeled through there, but every time that there is an election, in the subsequent elections to come, then the local government chairmen and councillors and the machinery of the local government more or less will dictate where the state will go. And so for political actors in a state, it becomes critical for them to take control of the local government. Hence, we have a Sim Fubara and a Governor Wike coming from the same family, but now fighting for who will control what you would normally hear as structure. Who owns the structure of the state? Sim is PDP, and he is the governor. But the erstwhile leader of PDP within the state is Nyesom Wike, former governor of Rivers State, current minister of the FCT. the PDP structure within the state, which ideally under a peaceful, no in-house fight, ideally would have swept all of the seats at the local government basis, will not and was not in support of the state governor. And so even though the state governor is PDP, you would then notice that everybody that ran under his structure, they ran under a different party. And so that different party, which would have, quote unquote, be said to be unknown a few months ago, suddenly becomes a very powerful party in the state that has won local government elections and councillor positions. So fast forward to last weekend. Having won that, quote unquote, what you then see is a reprisal where things that had started long before now and which I personally witnessed that happened against me when they were together began to unfold. An attempt to ensure that the election does not hold, an attempt to ensure that if the election holds, then it will be in violation of certain judicial processes, paving the way for court cases, which will certainly come. And having held over the weekend, then the next aspect is, can we stop the swearing in from happening? Hence, you saw the outbreak of violence. But then the swearing in has happened, the violence has now abated, the structure for now is in the hands of the governor. And so the next aspect that you are going to see is that you are now going to see a legal battle. I wish I could sit down and tell you that there is faith and confidence that the judicial process will be totally above board, free, fair, and all of that. But having been a victim and seen the way it goes, it can be anybody's guess what the judicial process will bring. But be certain that all sorts of landmines have been planted to ensure that when the judicial process comes through, that there will be a possibility to upturn everything that has happened today, over this weekend, and either have fresh elections, go back to a status quo, or if the current governor of Rivers State plays whatever card he has, and if he can play an open hand, then the judicial process will return them for what they for the election. I think that basically is just a brief summary of where we are politically in Rivers State today as far as local government elections are concerned. Pastor Etua, it's about control of the political structure, and it's about setting the tone for what is to come in 2027.
But how come we have degenerated to this level? What really is the missing part in our politics that it's now war everywhere, crisis everywhere, thuggery everywhere, banditry everywhere? There's a party called the PDP. Two people in the party, Nyesom Wike and Fubara, are disagreeing. And the party cannot step in, the party cannot resolve the matter, the party has no place, no process in the thing, nobody can listen to anybody, and it now has to be a fight to finish. What is missing in Nigerian politics that it is like that? You know, right now they're doing the same thing in England. The Tories are trying to choose a new leader, and they've been going through rounds and rounds of elections. People have been dropping off. There's some kind of control. There's somebody supervising the whole thing. People are not throwing daggers at each other, carrying chairs, thugs all over the place. what really is the problem with our political process, that it is always down to individuals, down to personalities. Party seems powerless. People are accusing Wike of being anti-party. He's in PDP. He's working for an APC government. He's controlling PDP wins governorship in Rivers. APC wins presidential in the same Rivers. It's like the people don't know what they're doing. They don't know which party they don't know which party they're affiliated to. I mean, what is going on in Nigerian politics?
It's a very good question, and you have to be a bit of a student of political history to understand and look at where the inflection points have been and what has happened. And if you go just a bit further back to the military, when they were too strong, when they created the two-party system almost, was the NRC and SDP. It was created in such a way that one was a bit to the left and one was a bit to the right. And they tried to create some kind of ideology around that. So people went whichever way, either they went a bit to the left or a bit to the right. And we saw back and forth, whatever, that's history for another day. But you more or less began to create about that point some form of the basis of an ideology to come through. Fast forward to 1999, when Obasanjo came in, the initial plan back then was that the party would be stronger than the individual, and that the party will take the decisions. Going back to the military, if you remember, the parties were funded such that it did not require one individual or governors to hold the structure of the party. So the governors and the government and political appointees were subject to the party. Sometime in the first political dispensation, this changed, and the governors became heads of the party in the state. And they became the ones to determine who and what will happen. The minute the governors with money and influence began to take the decisions that the party structure ideally would have taken, the party lost out. So the party then only became a platform for which elections are held, but no longer a disciplinary platform, no longer a platform that will decide who and who can run on their behalf. Governors essentially today make up the critical deciding factor of who will run as governor, who will run as Senate, who will run as president. Essentially, your parties are run by governors. So parties don't have the strength, neither do they have the ability to discipline as they used to be. Now, when you then have governors with money, and those governors are the ones that are funding the party, then you can imagine that they are the ones who determine who the company secretary, the party secretary is. They are the one who determines who the party chairman is. They are the one who determine who the NWC is. So anybody, especially a governor that has a lot of money and is willing to spend that money for the party structure, will determine how that party goes. And so it's when people are surprised that a PDP cannot call to order members of his own party that stepped out and decided that they would work, I think they were called the G5 or something, that they would work against their very party. And that party had no way of calling together a BOT or NWC to discipline them. Then you know that there's something wrong. So that's where we've gotten it completely wrong. The party system, any party today, is just a platform where political interests and expression can be made, but it's no way a place where discipline can be effected.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the big points and the critical points. And I have to throw you a question from two angles. The first angle is that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when he stopped being governor of Lagos State, somehow seemed to still have been able to hold on to political power. Maybe from your own perspective, based on what you've said now, how was he able to do that? And he was not into this Fubara and Wike thing. And I've seen a lot of this Fubara and Wike problems in quite a lot of other states. Even in Anambra State, when Peter Obi left and he put his own friend in, even somebody who worked in the bank in which he was chairman, I forget his name now, they had the same problem. Within a few months, they were quarreling and fighting all over the place. It's happened in Kwara State also. The late Oloye Saraki put in quite a few governors in party. Before long, he and the governors were quarreling here and there until he put his own son. And then even he and his son began to have tension and problem here and there. You know, so on Asiwaju's side, how was he able to do it? And then secondly, is this how we're going to continue? Is there a way out of this office and taking control of party structure, and we're just going to continue to live like this, meaning that in perpetuity, governor and successor, or old governor and successive governor, will continue to fight up and down? Is this how we're going to continue our governance in Nigeria? What do you think? What's the way out?
Okay, so let me start with the second question. There's nothing that lasts forever. Nothing. History, lifetime, everything has taught us that every system collapses, every system changes, everything may have a period. No matter how strong, no matter how it looks and all of that, it has a period when it comes to an end. So whatever it is that we see today has a time limit. What we are not sure is when. But there are certain things that can speed up the end of a particular era, and there are things that can delay it. The question is what and when are we ready to bring it to an end? So I'm certain 100% that whatever it is that looks like a gravy train right now will come to an end. So it's just a matter of time. So that's to answer the second question. But the first aspect of it is that we must remember that there are three things that perpetuate a system when it comes to politics. The first aspect of it is patronage, money, who has and who is able to control the source and funding and financing of the system. As long as that financial package is channeled through a few sources, one or two. If it's one person or two persons, let's even say if it's one person who is the principal channel of the funding that happens, then you are going to find a situation where that person is able to take almost all the decisions that would happen. Now, the issue is that if the person who is the financial backbone has a character that allows others, even though they're being financed or position, allows others to kind of find their space, find their own expression, then you will see that it may last a bit longer. But where you find that there is a determination that not only am I financing, every decision that is taken, down to the smallest level, must be signed off by me, then that is where you find revolt. When you go back to all the issues that you just mentioned where states had a problem, I am almost certain that the challenge that happened there was an attempt by whoever positioned their successor to also try to direct and run the affairs of the state from outside. And where that happens, every human being will revolt. And I suspect, I don't know, but this is my own suspicion, that it's a revolt because either one is trying to control the other or not allowing them to run the affairs of the state to a large extent with their own competence. So that's what I think happened.
Okay. I'm going to play another video just now, and I think the back office should be ready. An interview on one of our channels, on one of our TV stations, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions about that. So I don't know, Olufaye, do you have the video from the back end?
Governor Fubara, if I may ask you quickly, how did things degenerate this badly? Because there are those who will say you and the former governor, you were one and the same because you worked together. I mean, what exactly is in the bottom of all of this? What exactly went wrong? Where did things go wrong?
So honestly, I wouldn't want to discuss that here, but you all know the issue. It's very simple. It has to do with the issue of power, control. It's not about that. You can even say it in this case. If election has been held in River State and council chairman have been inaugurated, in a normal situation, do we even need anybody to go and obstruct them from entering the secretariat? Maybe there's somebody somewhere who believes, I know, I still am above and higher than the authority in the states. That's all. It's just issue of power. But I tell you, my brother, I don't intend to discuss it, and I don't want to join issues with that. I want to focus on governance. Manage the situation as much as I can. That is what is important to me.
But politically
Everybody
speaking, Your Excellency, yeah, if I may come in quickly, politically, there are those who will say, yeah, for the man who brought you into office, yeah, that there are understanding and agreement that you have. Why is it difficult for you to keep your own side of the bargain since you assumed office? Because that's the allegation against you, that you are unable to keep your own side of the bargain. Why is that difficult?
I don't think there's any understanding we have not kept. I can say it here. There is no understanding that we have that I've not kept. That is the truth. Like I said, I honestly would not want to discuss those issues. What I'm appealing is everyone should share their sword. Even to the minister, Mayoga, there is no need to destroy the states. You once ruled the states. The state was the envy of every other state. Another person is there now. What you need is to give the support. After 4 years or who knows 8 years, I will also leave, another person will take over. That should be the spirit. When it comes to election period, you can fight and do whatever. But now it's time for governance. We need all the support. We're here complaining that Nigeria have a problem, reduction in our oil production. We're trying to improve our production stage. And we are here. This is the heart of where the problem is. We have the problem in Emowa, we have the problem in Degema. We're trying to manage it. And we're now adding in-house issues. These are in-house issues that ought not to be out.
Yeah, so you've listened to that, and I just want to ask you 3 questions emanating from that. Number one, I don't know if you know the 2 principal players very well, Sim Fubara and Nyesom Wike. You might know Wike better than Sim because you all you've been involved in River State governance. I know that you are quite close and friendly with Amechi, Wike, also this gentleman who's a senator,
Magnus Abe.
Was senator, I don't know what he's doing. He ran for office.
Magnus Abe.
The senator, Magnus, yes. Magnus. It was almost like a kind of triumvirate, and you were sort of there in the mix somewhere.
Somewhere.
I know you were in the mix somewhere. So you were in the mix somewhere. And also this gentleman that was at Nimasa also. You all were in the mix together. I don't know where Dakuku, my friend. I don't know where Sim was then. Maybe it was a bit lower down the ladder at that time. Because I have a small understanding of this thing. So what really is the problem between both of them from your own perspective? That's question number one. Number two, how is this going to affect Rivers State and governance in Rivers State now and in the future? And then number three, how do you see a conclusion? What is your own perspective on this?
Sorry, what's number three? I lost it.
Number three is how will it end?
Okay, I don't know if it's my network or yours, but I think number
between
three is how will it end?
Weak problem. What is it? You may not know. And I mean, I could see that cautious and a little bit politically correct, if you want to say.
Okay, all right. So I can hazard a guess as to what the third one is, but let's start with the first question. What is in my opinion, what is the problem? Having listened to that piece with Sheung, I think His Excellency Sim was very clear about what the problem is, and he said it's about control, it's about power, it's about one wanting to control the other, and that's what it is. And from everything that we have heard through the grapevines, through the rumor mills, through people who have left the Honorable Minister and gone elsewhere, the principal problem is what the governor said. He says this is about control. And he's fighting back because, he wants to take control. He wants to be a governor, while the Honorable Minister wants to be the leader that the governor reports to. And so there's a fundamental difference there. So he was straightforward about it, and I don't think one needs to hazard a guess if the protagonists, in fact, both of them have said, the Honorable Minister has come out severally to say that, look, I am the one that made you. I'm the one that did everything. You were nobody. I made you governor, and you cannot try and go on your own way. So he said it. So he's basically made very clear to everybody that Sim betrayed that. Sim said there was no agreement. So let's say he betrayed that understanding. And to the Honorable Minister's point of view, the understanding was that, look, you were not going to be governor. I fought for you. I made sure everything worked, spend the money and put you there. And for that, control must be mine. And Sim is saying no. So that's where the fight is. That's the first one. On the second point, what was it again? It's how does that affect governance in Rivers State? You know, Pastor, 30 years ago, Rivers State and Lagos State, we hear this a lot. But I tell you, because I opened an office in Rivers State and opened an office in Lagos. And when we were trying to make a decision as to where to open an office, the office that we took in Rivers State was bigger in terms of space and expansion than the one in Lagos. And the idea then was that we were going into the energy space, oil and gas and all, And Lagos had PPMC here, so it was an administrative office. This was before they moved to Abuja. And the operational office was in Rivers State. And the intention back then was that Rivers State will have the full operational base, will grow, will be big, and all of that. And we took that office. I went to Port Harcourt and I lived in Port Harcourt setting up that office. That office today, 30 years later, is still the same size, bar one or two different small additions. 30 years. 30 years. In that period, Lagos, Abuja has quadrupled. I have witnessed directly, not hearsay, I have witnessed directly what the effect of bad governance, political infighting has done to Rivers State. I've witnessed it through my investments, my own hard-earned sweat investment in Rivers State. And I have witnessed it through my political activism in Rivers State. It is terrible. And I have traveled, I have friends, I've grown up, gone around Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and it is there, evidence before my eyes. We are not better off at all, at all. So all of this fighting, all of this issue for control and all of that cannot get us anywhere fast. So Rivers State is not going to get any better. His Excellency Sim Fubara, in his statement there, was begging, please just allow us to govern. Let us just govern. We can fight in 4 years' time, 3 years' time, but for now, let us govern. And there's a reason why he's saying that. The only business today that operates in Rivers State is politics. People are dependent on politics. They expect government that you pay, the government pays for everything for every politician. Pays school fees, pays house rent, pays food. It's a terrible system, my brother. So how will this conclude? I think that was your last question. What's my prediction about this conclusion, about this fight and what is going on? You're not going to have any peace anytime soon. Nobody is going to govern anything. Rivers State is going to be a cauldron of issues up until election of 2027. That's what you see. You will hear, we are going to be in the news consistently for issues like this. Unless one or a couple of them are called and they say, you know what, sheath the swords. But you said, I know the players here. Nobody is shooting any sword anytime soon. So unless you take the sword away from them, which is a possibility, that's sheath the sword out of your direct will. You know what? Let me just sheath it and wait. Now the character, they're not built that way. It's not in their DNA to do so. You're muted, Pastor.
Thank you. Let's move a little bit away from Rivers State now and go a bit national, because I know your thoughts and your heart is also quite national. And I'm going to go slightly you and your friends ran it doing phenomenally well, generating income and revenue for you, yet you left that and you then went into this political arena, and sort of had to even resign from Sahara. Maybe you still keep your shares there, I don't know, and so on and so forth, and went into this very environment. And you had your own story. It's not been smooth sailing. You've had challenges. Like my brother Aswe, they were also challenging you that you're not a homeboy, that you grew up in Lagos, but blah, 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 this and that, and so on and so forth. I'm not really looking at the quality and the contour and the context of the person. Sorry about the connections. What made you take that decision? And then on a throwback from that, this is Nigeria. And whether we like it or not, we have not gotten the best of leadership since 1966, if you ask me, and also possibly since 1999. You know, we've just been having what you may call
accidental leadership.
We've lost a lot of developmental mileage. You know, this sort of thing that is happening in Rivers State has happened at the national level at different times, and so on and so forth. What can we do in Nigeria as individuals to try and ensure that we actually have the right kind of leaders in our country? What do we need to do to fix this problem?
Okay. So there's no problem that cannot be fixed, none whatsoever. But there must just be a determination, a resilience, a perseverance that you want to fix the problem, and it's going to cost you. It will cost. I know what it has cost me emotionally, in so many ways, materially, physically. So there's a cost. There's a heavy price to pay. The issue is whether or not you are willing to pay that price. But is any problem fixable? 100%, I believe it's fixable. Why did I take a decision to do this? It's because I got fed up. You know, we used to have, and Pastor, you remember this, we used to have situations where people just be coming and talking, and they will complain about Nigeria from morning till night, and nothing changes. And so spent a couple of years trying to influence change in Nigeria from the outside. And I remember an older friend of my father was into politics. So we hated, quote unquote, politics because of what we saw them go through in their whole political journey. I just walked away from it. That was fundamental error number one for my generation, walking away from politics, fundamental. We went into business and God blessed us. But every single business turn that we made, we ran into political interference. And it started getting worse and worse with each year. And so trying to influence politics from outside became a no, zero, it just does not work. And this political father figure at the time said to me, he said, there's no way you can change anything from the inside, from the outside. You want to change? You want to make anything different? Come inside. But he also said to me, I had accused him at the time, that, you know, you in politics, you have the mantle in your hand. You have the opportunity to pass that mantle to somebody who is well-regarded, has the brains, has the smarts, has the pedigree, whatever. He said to me, he said, nobody ever hands over power to anybody like that. They'll just sit down, they'll call you and come and give it to you. He said, you have to earn it or steal it, right? Or fight for it. But that they will call you and give it to you. He said, nobody ever does that. So if you want this power, if you want to make this difference, if you want to, then you must get involved. But then he said, the challenge that you and your class of people and your generation of people have is that you don't want to get dirty. And we have understood it. And we make politics look as dirty as possible so that you will not stain your white. You come in, he said you cannot. You can't. So you want to clean it? Be ready for the ruffle. You want to clean it? Come inside. You cannot clean a dirty place without staining your white. So come and stain that white. But if you are persistent, and he said this, he said, if you are persistent enough and you stay there long enough, you will get it. And that we are, and he said it very clear. He said, your group of people, well-educated, can think, have been trained for strategy and all of that. He said, we're afraid of all of you, but you don't have staying power. I am afraid of being stained. So we shout, we shoot a few guns here and there, and everybody runs away. You just go back to where you are coming from, and we continue to perpetuate ourselves in power. I learned a lot of lessons there and determined that in this thing, we have to have a staying power. We have to be ready to fight for what we believe. We have to be ready to stand for as long as it takes until the battle is won. And that's where I am. So can it be done? Absolutely. Now let us take Edo State, myself, your brother, and others. You see, first, it would only be one. One person is there, I know. But it takes that one person to continue for another person who can relate to him to say, okay, if he's there, let me come and let me try. And then they become two. And then two people become six. Six people become 20. That's the way it is. At the end of the day, I am not alone. Your brother has come in. He's been bloodied a bit as I was bloodied. But guess what? Human beings learn from experience. The value of what we have learned will go a long way, I can assure you, a long way. It's not going anywhere. I gave myself 20 years of this journey, 20. Once I was 51, I said, I'm doing this for the next 20 years. Now, in 20 years' time, by the time I'm 70, I think I would have done enough by that point. But by the time I'm 70, I expect that the type of politicians, the type of politics, the type of nature that we have would have changed. That is the target. And that's what we're going to do. And so it's a journey. It's not a sprint, or it's not an easy thing, but we will get there. So that's it, my brother.
I think those words are very, very encouraging for me. And I'd like to give you a responsibility that this gospel that you have preached today, you must try and preach it a bit more to other people of this sensitivity and this sensibility and so on and so forth. And I'm going to also appeal to you that we are starting some kind of leadership school, and it might be a little course or paper that will tie around you so that we can encourage a lot of people who are really on the outside and are so afraid to come in. And the few that have come in, they were shook up a little bit and then they ran back. Like you said, this is have their strategy and they're enjoying themselves.
Their strategy, yes.
Yeah, they're really enjoying themselves. But I suspect that, I was talking to a Nigerian leader the other day, and he says, I said, they shook us up a bit in Edo. So he said, laughing. He says that if you hear anything that can say, go, he said that thing must be a human being. If you hear something say, go, that thing must be a human being. So far you can hear it. Yes, and your response is that you must say, go, 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 go. And if you shout back, you're surprised that the thing will just pipe down. Say, I didn't know you had a fight in you now. It's not that bad. Let us talk. So he says, so you people should go back and shout back and say, go, 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 go. So I've told my brother that he has to go back and shout back.
Can't go anywhere. So, I mean, on a light, I don't know whether it's a lighter note. It's a serious thing, but on a lighter note. When I was in NIPS studying, I was with a lot of military people who have come from the war front and all of that. From the battlefield, let's not call it a war front, from the battlefields in the Northeast and so on and so forth. And there's something that they consistently said. They said that the bullet that will kill you, you will never hear the gunshot. Okay? The bullet that will kill you, you will never hear the gunshot, which means that you will be dead before you even know that you fired a gun. So when they say go, and you're hearing it, it's only a human being that can say it. So go, give it back. Go back and fight.
It means that if you can hear the go, you are still alive.
You're still alive. So go them back. Don't be afraid. Yeah, that's the truth. That's what courage is about. So
Yeah.
I'm serious. So just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we have so you have to preach this gospel. There are quite a lot of people who are still sitting on the fence and all that. But we really cannot leave Nigeria to where Nigeria is with a bunch of people who really don't care about Nigeria. I'm going to open the floor very soon now. There are many people on the platform who would like to ask a few questions or make a few clarifications and so on and so forth. But let me just ask you this last question from me, and then I'll open the floor for people who want to say whatever they want or ask you some questions. What is the future of Nigeria? And what is the future of politics in Nigeria? And how do you see it? I know you are going to go back into the fray, and I'm looking forward to that. But basically, what is the future of politics in Nigeria?
I wasn't sure that I should laugh in pidgin English or laugh. Oh dear, my brother. On a very serious note, the political pipeline, those who are in the political space, who will be your House of Assembly tomorrow, your House of Rep, your senator, your president, your governors, today, if you see that political pipeline, you will be afraid. That pipeline, very, very afraid. The pipeline is... So if we sit down and all we do is pray and hope for a miracle, it can't happen. The pipeline is not good. When you set up your firm or my business or anything that you do, whether you're a sports person, football, Formula One, whatever it is you do, for sustainability and growth, your pipeline is important. You look at that pipeline for the next 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. Who are you recruiting? Who is your next CEO? Who is your next this and all? You don't quite get it right, but if you make sure that the pool that you're recruiting from is an intelligent, well-groomed pool, then you are almost certain that as the years go by and the pyramid gets towards the top, that you will find a good pool of people. The base, the political base today, be worried. So what is our future and why are we there? The first target for all of us is to ensure that we change the political base. That is my goal. We need to begin to bring in a young generation of political talent, and people are interested. The truth is that they are, but sometimes they don't hear this, they don't know whether they can survive, but we must bring in a pipeline of young, intelligent, patriotic, ready to die for Nigeria, if you can still find them, and all of that, but put them there, because that is what will become your House of Rep tomorrow. That's what will become your Senate. That's what will become your governor. That's what will become your president. As long as the base is what we are seeing today, the future is bleak.
Thank you very much. And even in my own little incursion, this last few months, I saw it. I saw the pipeline. I saw how it's been working, and I saw how come we produced the kind of options that we had, you know. And I was saying to them also that if we're not careful, our options will continue to be very, very limited if we don't do exactly what you have just described and think far into the future. I'm going to yield the floor now for Pastor Sonny and also Ms. Aki Taylor to take us through the questions and answers. I see some hands up: Oluyinka, Sister Yemisi Ransom Kuti, Mojuba Olu Okome, and so on and so forth. So, Sonny, over to you. And unfortunately, you didn't go to King's College, so you may not understand how we behave. But
All right.
All right.
You see what I mean? He says fluoride. He thinks it's advertising.
Fluoride.
Yes. I didn't go to King's College. I went to a federal government school.
Okay. You're
Let's have
a distant cousin. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Pastor Itua. Toyo Cole, you're welcome. Thank you very much for the light you have thrown into this. I think Jumoke Akintaylor will do the Q&A, but I want to find out from you. You are a member of the APC. You contested under APC in Rivers State. What is the state of APC in Rivers State?
We don't know.
Are you, which faction are you?
Who knows? Who knows? All I know is that I'm in APC. Some of the impunity that we have seen in the last couple of months is unprecedented in Nigeria, where you have people who are in one party, remain in one party to destroy another party, create another faction, want to be in two parties at the same time and all. It's a total mess. And it's not sustainable. So I don't bother myself too much about all of those intrigues. What I know is that this is where I am. And eventually, I saw a cartoon the other day that when you try to, I think it's an old African saying that if you try, you cannot paddle two canoes at the same time. You have to be in one to paddle it. You can't sit one leg in one canoe, another leg in another canoe, and trying to paddle both of them at the same time. It just cannot work. And that's what we are seeing in that state today. It's an attempt to control both parties from one side. Eventually, you know that it's just a recipe for disaster. It can't work. Eventually, all of that will crumble. So I'm where I am. I'm very focused, very dedicated. I don't worry myself about such games. Let's just stay focused on where we are.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll take all the questions, quite a lot of them, and Jumoke Akintaylor will handle the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Please. Let me take notes. Go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for this insightful conversation. So the way we do it, we'll take 3 questions, group them together. I would also help take notes. We're going to please ask, we have about 7 hands up. We ask that you please keep it to 1 minute, just because of the number of hands that we have up, and also to please stay on topic so that our guest speaker can respond to your questions. Oluyinka, I'm going to ask you to please come up or mute yourself.
Let me add to that. Please just ask the question. Don't try to frame why you're asking the question. Just go straight to the question. I think I will be able to get it. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for adding that. Oluyinka, please go ahead with your question. We've asked you to unmute.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. First question for me is, if Toyin Cole was the petroleum minister of Nigeria today, how would he solve Nigeria's petroleum pricing problem and also ensure that we can make the best of this resource that God has given us? That's number one. Number two, as a build-up to the last election, he was a defendant. There were criminal charges against him. What was the origin of those criminal charges? And are they still there? Possibly hibernating for when he's going to contest again. Then finally, I'm trying to put my thoughts together. Let me just put those 2 forward for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Auntie Yemisi, please go ahead. We've asked you to unmute.
Hello, Tonya. I think we should have some medals for those who have been in battle and have come out alive. It's a blood sport, isn't it? Politics in Nigeria. Well done. My one question is, now looking back, you've been in the private sector, you've tasted the political environment. If you had the opportunity to go back to your old self as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's been in the civil society kind of and doing other things to get development right, what are those things you think you would have liked to have done in preparation for, this new phase of your life? And good luck in the next election.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Professor Okome, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you. I enjoyed this presentation, especially from somebody that's been in the fray. But you're saying that good people should join politics and don't be afraid to get dirty. How dirty should one be prepared to get? In Nigerian politics, people are killed, people use thugs, and people rig elections. So should a person, a good person, then embrace all these things just so one wins? Because that's the actual reality that's faced. The second question I have is about pipeline and about the fact that what some of these heavy-handed governors are doing is to build a pipeline. They want to ensure that they have some kind of control over who succeeds them, possibly because there's an agenda they have that they want to promote. So if one doesn't want to get dirty, I mean, if one is not afraid of being dirty, this might also be a strategy that they use. So what I want to hear from you is, what are the nuances in terms of what people who are interested should do? How far does one go? And, I'm also saying this because the essence of democracy is that people who are involved agree to follow the rules.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have those 3 questions. I wrote some down. Do you need me to read anyone, or you have them? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, great questions. So I'll try. I hope I will not let you down. So Yinka, your first question had to do with what I would do to solve Nigeria's problem, petroleum price problem. And I've answered this severally to say that Nigeria's petroleum problem can never be solved in isolation of a petroleum issue. It's not, it's far beyond that. And it has to deal, you have to work on the whole issue, first and foremost, of what you do with productivity and foreign exchange. We're in such a big mess when it comes to the petroleum issue, subsidy, no subsidy, will you be subsidizing or you're not subsidizing? As long as that is the case, it doesn't work. So we're going to continue having what we have because there is a fundamental productivity issue at the bottom of at the base, which most people don't see. So as Petroleum Minister, the first aspect of it is that we have to sit down and create a coalition of the Minister of the Economy, the CBN, Minister of Labor and Productivity, Minister of Petroleum. Nobody can do it on its own. Where we have had a problem is that people believe that the petroleum problem has a petroleum solution. It doesn't. It's way, way, way beyond that. And so there's an economic, there's a productivity issue. Just bear that in mind. Foreign exchange and productivity. How do you how do you reduce the demand for foreign exchange in other areas such that the only income that you are getting from export of oil is now diverted into import of petroleum products? It just doesn't work. Anyway, let's leave that aspect of it. Criminal charges that were leveled against me. Now, to answer Mujubalu's question, this is when I say that staining your white, this is exactly what happens. So basically, there are political cases that are created. I had almost 16 different cases that Nyesom Wike threw at me in court. Just as you are rattling one, another one comes up and all. And this was one of them. Is it hibernation? We have taken it up onto the point where it's in the appeal court. We won they withdrew it the first time because anyway. The point being that we're in the appeal courts and we continue to fight it. So you have all your evidence. You know that the judiciary is the judiciary right now, but these are the things that you must fight. You must just be resilient. Is it going to come up again in 2027? It's possible. We will cross that bridge when we get there. For now, we take it a day at a time and we continue to fight it. So, let me see, what would I do differently? when I think about it. I think one of the first shockers that when I first went into politics, coming from the private sector, was that I actually thought that the private sector was a lot more influential in political decisions and what happened when I got in there. I think my first shock was that you didn't matter. You see, everybody here in this whole conversation that we have, you don't matter in the decisions, in political decisions that happen in Nigeria. And that, for me, was the biggest shocker. And so it became clear to me that we needed to do what is happening here. Those who have been in the forefront, in the battle and all of that, need to come and open your eyes and open our ears to what the reality is in politics, such that you are a lot more strategic about how to matter. The truth as we speak right now, in the political dynamics in Nigeria, you don't matter. Your opinion does not matter. What you say does not matter. Your money does not matter. They don't need you. They will write the results, they'll do whatever they want, but you are not needed at all, at all. That for me was the biggest shock. And so if I were to do anything different in the private sector today, it is how do I matter? What should I be doing that will make my voice matter? Believe me, it don't matter at all. It doesn't matter who you are, none. Whether you are the biggest banker, biggest oil producer, biggest insurance, none of my friends matter, none. So it's a big shocker for all of us. I'm sure it might be a shocker for you to hear that, but you don't. So, Moji, how dirty are you willing to be? With each iteration of politics that I go through, and I sit down and look at it, I come back and I refine a bit more what we want to do. And there must be certain things that you are known for. And those things that you are known for, you stand on them. And one thing that I've spent 6 years in politics right now, and it's just passed like this. But one thing that cannot be taken away, two things that cannot be taken away from me is the first aspect that in business I succeeded. Nobody can take that. It doesn't matter. Know who you are and be sure about what you are doing. The second aspect of it is that there must be an integrity about you. So you must be known for something. Either you're known that you're stubborn on this end, or that you will say what it is, or that you're, so be known. So I have maintained my integrity through all of this aspect of it. But in the meantime, you must understand, if you're going to win this war, you must understand the strengths of your opponent, and you must be thinking every day that how are you going to counter them. Every single time I go to sleep and wake up, I am thinking that, okay, I have watched and I have understood how they go about rigging elections, what they do when it comes to using guns. I've been shot at, I've been dynamited, I've been taken to court. I've seen all of those things and I've survived them. Every single one of them I have survived. So I am certain that I can survive it. So I know that survival is by God alone. That it doesn't matter what, the day you die is the day you die. Nobody can stop it, which means you go. That is for God to decide. But nobody has the right to take your life without permission. So you must understand that. And the permission means that God has decided that, okay, it is the time for you to come back and you can't stop it. So my mindset is that you can't kill me. My mindset is that it does not matter what you do. As long as I have a purpose, and that purpose is ordained that this is what I must achieve, you're not going to stop me. Eventually, you will outrig yourself out of that equation. Eventually, you will do something that you think is what is going to make you win, but it is going to make you lose. So what happens? You cannot be afraid of being made dirty. Internationally, I have my own reputation, but I can assure you that even as I am today, and this is something that I've started fighting, there's something called politically exposed person. As a result of that, my bank accounts that I had were shut. Why? Because I went into politics. When I have to go to open any company or do any business, I go through the kind of scrutiny that you can never believe possible. My life has become much harder to live and to operate because I decided that I will go into Nigerian politics. But yet, as a result of that, each time I'm going through that KYC and that due diligence, I am fighting them on the other side that you will not be the cause and the reason why we will not have people like me go into politics. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how much KYC you do on me. It doesn't matter how many times you shut my account and all of that. We will stay there until you see that the right people must enter into politics, because we will not allow you to dictate the type of people that will fight politics. So I'm on a mission, and a very clear mission at that. So how dirty are you willing to go and all of that? Just know that those who are pioneers, who are sent to do things, will go in and do what they have to do. We will win this election because they will outrig themselves. We will win this election because a time will come when they know that if they do not support the likes of Faswe and the likes of me, their houses will be burnt by their own people who have gone hungry. They will know that there's a time when they will look at it and say that, we better step back and allow others to move forward because it's no longer safe for us. You see, you get to a point where your own life, those who have been doing all of this, their own lives become a danger for them. Things are coming, things are happening, and I don't have to worry myself. Rivers State is where it is today because of the decisions they took. And they took decisions against what I was doing, which was legitimate and straightforward. And look at where they are today. Who is happy in Rivers State? But anyway, so pipeline, what are the nuances for countering this pipeline? So I've just said it. I've said some of those nuances. The first aspect of it is that when they see that there are people who are determined to remain in the fray like I am, and that I will show those in the pipeline, the way that they can survive through this whole thing. Because that's what I'm doing. I am learning survival instincts. I'm learning how to survive through all of this, so that as I bring young people into the party and into the fray, I show them that there are ways to survive. There are ways to survive that you do not impinge on your integrity. There are ways to survive this whole thing that you do not put yourself in danger. There are ways to survive, and that's for us to teach you. But come, let us do it together. People who are nice follow the rules. I don't know about that, man. I would not say that. You see, if you follow the rules, if you follow these rules and all of that, you will lose all the time. So I don't agree that you follow the rules. I agree. I advocate that you create your own rules. I am in the business of rewriting rules right now. Understand the rules that are there, study it, understand exactly how it is, and rewrite the rules such that the game changes. We must put new rules, and we are the ones that will write the rules that will help us win. Because time, chance happens to everybody. Believe me, the time will come when new rules will be applicable. Who writes those rules? Who puts them in? Who are the people that make those decisions? You will find me there.
Words on marble. Thank you, sir. We're going to take a Taiwo. Please ask your question. We've asked you to unmute.
Hi. Good evening.
Please keep it brief, within less than 1 minute, and just to the point, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Tony. Good evening, Pastor Twa. My question is, well, coincidentally, we've been in the Roko together, in the field of politics together. I contested sometime in 2019. So my question is, good people like us, are we really doing politics the right way, considering the fact that when we picture our sense of integrity vis-a-vis with those other people on the other side and the way they do their own politics, are we really doing it the right way? Or is it actually sensible to say, should we actually follow some certain path like them and then we correct it because we have a standard already? And then my second question will be to Pastor Twa. And what is it probably at the point where we've gotten to right now that the church should actually take a particular stand, irrespective of any party, to choose who actually leads us, considering certain integrity factor of the triple C's that we all know: capacity, competence, and character, rather than remaining apolitical, as we always say, because that has been the trajectory of CSOs in the past. So have we gotten to the point whereby the church will actually be necessary to take active roles in certain political space today, rather than just staying neutral at every point in time? That's my question.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Malachi, please go ahead. We've asked you to unmute. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll be very brief. Thank you, Pastor Ito, for organizing as a convener, and Mr. Cole. Having been very painfully involved in the Edo election and spending so much money from the diaspora in US, I would say it's surprising that the governor could not hold his own, knowing he knows how politics is. I'm going to ask you, Mr. Cole, do you think we need a constitutional solution with the way INEC, security agencies, and the federal government is structured right now in order to solve this nonsense that goes on every time? The next one is courage the main competency required for election right now with an oversized impact? And I'll say this, I live in US. If someone pulls up my door with a gun to rob me, he's going to visit his maker. I am not a judge. I don't judge people, but I promise you, I will send him to the person that will give him a judgment. He'll be dead. Because if he has a gun, I have a gun. Why are we cowards in Nigeria? You know how it operates. The late political guru in Edo State, I won't mention his name, his children are not in politics. They asked him, why are your children not in politics? He said something, and the man that went there to contest had lovely time in office as a permanent secretary. He asked the man one question, can you kill somebody? The man couldn't answer him. He said, get out of my phone. You cannot do politics. We know how it operates. Why are we pretending? In today's Edo State, nobody voted APC. We all know that. And you knew how this game will play out. How can a governor not hold his own? And it's not a political neophyte. These are my questions. Constitutionally, is there a solution there? If not, is courage the solution? I promise you. I was talking to someone that came here. This will give. This thing is not sustainable. I promise you, it will give. Unfortunately, when it gives, all these political actors will run away out of the country, because every time in the history of the world, once there is hunger and there is
okay.
Thank you very much.
Calm down.
Thank you. Chinenye,
Wow.
please go ahead with your question.
I love it.
Okay, good evening. Thank you so much for the courage to get into the ring. My question is very close to, my name is Chinenye Wanaka. I'm a lawyer and also founder of Africa Policy Conversations. I'm someone who a lot of people have told to go into politics, and I always shy away because of the risks involved. So I have two questions. I'm a believer. I have very strong value system, and you mentioned something, profound when you said that you have to get yourself dirty. So basically, you can't go in without being stained. You can't. Your white to be stained. Absolutely. But for me, the challenge is that I've seen a lot of people in government who went in with that same mindset that they just needed to do what needed to be done. The end justifies the means. But then they become a shadow of themselves. So is it possible to? So what are the boundaries? Like how? Let's say you go in there, you have to do vote buying. Okay, that's the first question. Then the second one is, for women, what can we do to increase, participation of women? And finally, how can we have a critical mass? So I see people going in silos, like yourself. You've done so well.
Is that your? Sorry, Chinenye. Sorry to.
That's the final question. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Sorry. I was trying to catch I can bring one in. Yeah. Then 3 silos. Okay. The questions are getting more fiery. I love it. Taiwo. Good food. I think all the questions are about the same. So, but let me ask. So, Taiwo, you asked if good people are doing politics the right way and whether we should change some of our rules. And I think that's also tallies with is it Malachi or Malachi's question regarding courage And then it ties to Chineye's question about boundaries. So let me take those three, and then I'll go back to the other ones that are separate. And I'll answer it this way. First of all, as believers, are we doing politics? Those who say we are good people, and I believe that when you say that you're a good person, it means that you have morals, you have boundaries, there are certain things that you will not do. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie, and so on and so forth. And so when you want to go into politics, then you must be able to maintain those kind of things. My first iteration in politics, 2018, 2019, I came out of that and I had to take one year to go and search my soul and search my spirit. Because one of the things that I was clear about was that if you were not very well founded in politics, you will lose your salvation clearly. And if you lose your salvation, then what is the whole point of politics? But then, in searching God's face out about that answer, I said, but it cannot mean then that politics is the reserve for those who are evil, bad, and all of that. So there must be a way. If we leave it and say that we as Christians cannot participate in politics because of these issues, then it means that there's no hope for Nigeria. But that's not what I understood about from the scripture. So I had to go and search. In a nutshell, to tell you what God showed me all through that process will take too long. But in a nutshell, I was asked to look at the lives of certain people, David, Moses, Joseph, and Daniel, and look at their lives, where they were, what they did, and what was the common denominator in all of them. Every single one of them operated in a territory that was outside of their comfort zone. They went and they excelled in places where idolatry, where evil, where all sorts of things were functional. Moses in Egypt, David had to leave Israel and run into the Palestinian land where he feigned madness, and then he was deceiving the Palestinian king where he was living in Ziklag, that he was going to attack Israel and coming back where he was attacking their own people and so on and so forth. Daniel living within Nebuchadnezzar's empire of idols and all of that, with magicians and sorcerers and all of that, of which he was made the head of all of those things. And Joseph, as you know, in Egypt and so on and so forth. By the time the Lord took me through all of those things, he then went to the fundamental, that what was it about each one of them that they did not forget? And each one of them fundamentally did not forget who they were. And the Lord asked me, who are you? They fundamentally remembered. Joseph said, do not leave my bones in Egypt. Carried his bones away from Egypt when they were going. Moses left Egypt, that we're going to our promised land. He knew, he grew up in the palace. He was a Jew. He knew who he was. And when the time was right, he went back as a Jew fundamentally. Daniel, they said, we know that the only way we will get this man is that we will get him against his God. But he was the head of the sorcerers, head of the magicians, head of God knows what and what is and what not. But at the same time, when they wanted to get him, it was about who he was fundamentally, and so on and so forth. So when I focused on all of that, and the Lord was very clear to me, do not forget who you are fundamentally. You are mine. Don't forget that. Wherever you find yourself, just always remember who you are. Continue in your journey of politics. That was clear. Okay. Came back and the fight continued. So to the issue, courage plays a very, very, very vital part of all of this. Courage plays a vital part of all of this. And so in that 1 year, as I was studying through politics and what to do and all, I came across something that I termed in my research about how do we solve Nigeria, something that I call the coalition of the unlikely. The coalition of the unlikely. There's a whole different elite mindset today. Most of you sitting in this room today, when we're talking, as far as you're concerned, this is the elite and all of that. But the reality is that we are not the elites. when it comes to the Nigerian political factor. What we form here is just one part of an elite group that has no power and no voice. When we then now deal with who the real elites in Nigeria today, they are political elites of which you are not a part of completely. There's the military elite, there are the militant elites, and there are all sorts of different elites, civil service elites and all, of which you are not a part. But they function. And so there is a need for you to create a coalition that you must bring. But remember that your role is that you are the light and you are the one that must lead. You are the one that must show the way. You are the one that must give the direction as to where you're going. But bringing a coalition together that will put fear in the hearts of your enemy, you need to do that. You need to bring that coalition, and that coalition must be on your table. But if you, that's us, just sit down together here and say that, you know what, we are going to be the ones alone here to do this, you're not doing jack. We need a coalition, and you need to be able to move this coalition forward. Now, on the other side, when your enemies see who and who you are able to gather together, remember I said you don't have a voice first. But when they begin to see who you know on your other side, it goes to Malachi's point. They know you have a gun in your house. They're not going to come in with a gun. They're going to have to sit down and think about what they're going to do differently. You have begun to change the rules. It does not mean that you're going to rig, but they know that if they try to rig you, you already know what to do. So you must have a balance of power. Pakistan and India. Pakistan is a poor country, but they understood what India was doing when India was chasing nuclear weapons. What did they do? They went and developed their own nuclear weapons. And that put a balance of power straight in that area, such that India cannot attack Pakistan, Pakistan cannot attack India. Both of them just come and they stay straight away. So develop your own defense mechanism, and your defense mechanism must have bites. They must know that that defense mechanism that you have created can bite them and bite them badly. It can wound them if they try you. They must know that. So that is where you are going, but it takes a coalition. And why will people follow you? They must know that if it comes to you standing for them, you will stand. You are not going to run into the bush. You are not going to go away. You will stand. You must be able to defend them. So that's where we are. Anyway, so should the church take action rather than standing passive? Definitely. Most definitely. That's why Pastor Etua is here. That's why I'm here. We have sat down and we have thought about this in left, right, and center. And we have said that unless you as a church decide that you are truly light and you are truly salt, nothing will change. Nobody will change this thing for you. No angel is coming down to change it. You must be the one giving the wisdom. And guess what? Wisdom is available. It is available. And so each time we go to pray, each time we go as a church, each time we go as Revelation, we sit down and we ask the Lord, give us wisdom. The last time I went to my pastor, Pastor Adiboye, a few weeks ago. What did I do? I went up Kilimanjaro. I got up to the top of Kilimanjaro spiritually for two reasons. The first aspect of it, let me get to the highest point of this continent and from there claim dominion. The highest point on this continent called Africa, get there and claim dominion from there, and then come down and let's face this next battle. But we must be very deliberate about what we're doing. That is my church mind. That is me. So I went there, planted the flag of Nigeria, planted the flag of Redeem, which is my parent body, and came down. Then I went to my pastor and said, this is what I have done. And I'm asking that the Lord should grant me wisdom. I will not share what he said to me there, but he said to me straight away that the Lord has given him a particular verse that he had looked at regarding Nigerian elections and how they should move forward. And he shared it with me. It is not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. That same morning that I saw him, I was coming back from Abuja. I went to Jereze's birthday or so. In the morning, I stopped over to see him. And he said to me, as well. So I've been praying about something. And this is what I hear the Lord say regarding how elections must be conducted in Nigeria. For those of you who are running, what he said to me in the morning, Pastor Adeboye said the next morning, the same thing. God is not asleep in Nigeria at all. It's not asleep. So I can assure you that the church must be involved. Do you need a constitutional correction in Nigeria? No, you don't. Okay. Your constitution is fine the way it is. It's not perfect, but it's fine the way it is. There are many aspects of the constitution. If you operate it properly, you will get the desired result. Many. The issue is that those who are operating the constitution can find one or two areas that they will either ignore completely or they will distort to serve their own purpose. So what is our own responsibility? Let us take power. INEC and police and all of those things, they will work for you. You just have to figure out how to get them on your side. And that's our work. That's what we're doing. Let us figure how we must bring them. Because guess what? They're human beings. Within INEC are people who go to Pastor Eto's church. Within INEC are people who go to Bishop Oyedepo's church. Within INEC are people who are Muslims that want to do the right thing. We're all in Nigeria together. They are seeing the suffering together. So believe me, police, INEC, managing them, that's why I said coalition of the likely will get there. All right, I think that answers everybody's question. Women, very important. How can you get more women involved? The political dynamics, the way it is set up, and when political meetings happen and all of those things, they do it deliberately, such that women have to go home, go to their husbands, not come there and all of that. So they will set up a meeting at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. and all of that, such that they know that women will not be able to come out and that. Me, I carry, first of all, I make sure that all the women that are around me are political. Go and get your card. I start bringing them in, young women, and I force them into politics so that I start bringing them up. Let them see me, see who I'm with. Let them begin to learn the political language. I educate them and bring them up. For any woman to excel today in the Nigerian political thing, find a mentor and be determined. Women have a big role to play, but you need people to open that door for you. So that's where we are. All right. I think that answers everybody's question. Yep.
Yes, thank you. We are going to take the last three hands
Chineye,
up.
you have to get into this politics.
Oh, yes,
so
Chineye, come, let me mentor you. Which state are you from? Which state is she from?
It must be Abia or Anambra. So.
All right. We have to get her in.
She's from Imo.
Please, come. All right, last three questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Imo,
So,
she says she's from Imo.
From Imo.
So,
Imo State, very interesting.
Also has to be involved in politics. Okay.
Leave me in ALG, sir. I'm happy here. So no politics. Can I have Uncle Afolabi please go ahead and ask your question, please?
Okay, you're cheeky. My brother, how are you?
Fine, thank you, Afolabi. Go ahead.
Good. My question is that you just touched on it a little bit. With the way, I mean, we used to have a very strong opposition party. With all due respect, I think PDP is non-relevant as an opposition party. Are you fearful of that we're heading towards a state of just one party? Okay. And in this case, I mean, you touched a bit on it earlier, but do you believe that can we continue to afford this political system that we're having? And do you think we should go back to regional rules? Okay. And my second part is again on the economy, with the state of the economy in Nigeria and the high level of insecurity. What are you thinking? What do you think of the future for Nigeria, the way we're going? Losing jobs and businesses, international multinationals leaving Nigeria and everything, and job loss almost every day. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So we'll take Adedeji, please go ahead with your question.
Hello. Good evening, all. Thank you so much, Mr. Cole, for the insightful session. I just have one question. I have one question. How can we liberate people's mindset?
Sonny, what was your question? How can we do what with mindset?
Said, how can we liberate people's mindsets?
Oh, can you liberate
the standard we've set for governance in this country is far too low.
Okay.
And we're not holding our leaders and constituency representatives accountable. I believe the main barriers to this are the levels of high levels of multidimensional poverty and literacy in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So that's my question.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
So if you can, there are quite a few questions in the chat. So those are the last two hands that are up. I don't know if you want to take that or add a couple of questions from the chat.
Okay, no problem. Can you curate the questions for me from the chat?
Let me get those for you.
Okay.
So the first question on
go on.
I think it's relevant. So the questions are very similar to what has already been asked. So I think we've covered most of those questions. I just wanted to be sure that we were not leaving anyone out.
Okay, so should I go ahead?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
All right, no problem. So, very good question about opposition parties. So, if you read the book, The Prince, you will find that the tendency on why nations fail, there are two books that you should read if you have any kind of political interest. So read Why Nations Fail, and just even if you don't want to read the whole book on why nations fail, just read the introduction and the preface. And as you are reading it, you will see Nigeria straight away. You just see where we are in Nigeria, and you understand that there's nothing new under the sun. It's moving in a particular direction because of certain things that are happening. Fundamentally, destroy institutions. Just make sure that you weaken all institutions. The institutions that can correct, the judiciary, INEC, police, just weaken them. Then move towards a one-party state by weakening opposition, increasing patrimony, patrimony or parochial interest. Just make it a state capture. And once you head towards state capture, you own the state. But unfortunately, once you move in that direction, then there's an accompanying economic failure, accompanying all sorts of things that are ills, societal ills that then follow. So you get to one point, then it resets itself again. So are we tending towards a one-party state? That is the intention. That's what anybody who is a Machiavellian politician, anybody who wants to perpetuate themselves and their likes in power, that's what they would tend towards. However, the good thing about life is that the human being is not created to just agree to anything. You have to either force them by war, by force, by somehow to agree and toe a particular line. So you're either putting them in slavery, emancipation, and all before they would all agree. Nigeria today, even though the PDP that should be a force is being fought from the inside, some of the governors in the PDP are waking up and saying that, look, this cannot happen. The other day, I happened to be with some PDP members, and I was asking them, what are you going to do about your party? How can you sit down and just allow your party to be taken over and all of that? And they claimed that they were having a BOT meeting today being Thursday, so I don't know whether they did, but that part of what they are trying to do is figure out how can they take their party back. So people are fighting. Eventually, will PDP or another party get up to fight against an APC and manage an opposition? I think we'll get there. I don't think that we're so complacent as a people that we're just going to sit down and allow ourselves to become a one-party state. I think Nigerians are just too divided and we're too militant to head in that direction, but let's see. So the intention is for that to happen, but I have my doubts that we'll get there, but that is the intention. But there'll be a fight. So what will I do, or what do I think about insecurity, international companies leaving, job losses and all of that? I think it's a lack of confidence. Essentially, people vote with their feet. So when there's a lack of confidence in a government, a lack of confidence in policies, a lack of confidence in the future, you don't need, you can say everything you like on social media, on the newspapers, you can buy headlines and all of that. All you need to do is look at how people behave. The behavior of people will tell you whether you are working as a government or not. And people vote. They do not ballot paper that you can rig. People vote with their feet. So when you see a Japa syndrome happening in the scale that is happening, you know that people are not satisfied with government. There's no trust in the future. When you see international companies pulling out and leaving a country, it's because they don't believe that that country is healthy enough to give them long-term stability. So those are the kind of things that you see. So what is the issue? The issue, what is the solution? The solution is that you must bring back confidence into the governance play. And the only way that confidence can come into that is that the political structure and the way with which politics and politicians win elections must change. And so you need to have credible people fighting for power. And when they win power, you will see the change and the difference will start. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. How do you liberate people's mindsets? By doing what you are doing here. Education, which is this, it's a form of education, just making people aware of what is happening. And so you educate them well enough. There's something that they do, politicians do this a lot, and it's weaponizing illiteracy. They weaponize illiteracy. They weaponize poverty, because as long as you can keep people poor and illiterate, you can control them. Our responsibility, you and I, is to make sure that that does not happen. Educate as many people as you can and make sure that they know what they are doing so that they don't allow us to enter into one kind of slavery that none of us can survive. All right, I think that's about it.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to bring Mr. President back on, but before I do that, I want to thank you. And this is a build-up from last week's conversation where you're really kind of flaming the fire and calling us. This is a clarion call for us all to stand with those of you that are courageous enough to put yourself forward. So thank you for that. And as he said, we do have a School of Leadership and Governance, and we are also mentoring the youth for this pipeline of responsible, ethical, and accountable leadership. So we definitely be calling on you to help us with that mentorship program and also the training. We meet here every Thursday, same time, same Zoom link, different topic. And this past couple of weeks has really been very, very inspiring and calling us to stand up and fight for the soul of Nigeria. So thank you, sir, for your time. And I'm going to hand over to Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Okay, well done as always. And thank you, my brother Toyin. There's some things that you said that really, really resonate with me, and having been in the frame myself, I fully understand them. This platform, and there are many, many important people here. I see my sister Bola Adeshola here. I see my sister Mrs. Ladna. I see Mrs. Fetuga. I see Ekwe Udom and many other Professor Rinke Grange, who used to be a former minister, Emmanuel Audu. I see quite a lot of people here. And the truth really is that we don't matter. You know, when we go out there in the political fray and they're taking decisions, they don't even reckon with us and the noise we are making and even the size of our companies or the size of our wallet or anything. They just, those people, they're just, let them keep talking. They take their decisions within and amongst themselves. So it's important that the corporate Nigeria, is important that the so-called elites or the people who think they are privileged in the past or in the present begin to find a way by which they can matter in this political landscape. And that really is by getting involved or sponsoring people to get involved. And the church has a very important role to play. I don't know what Pastor Adeboye told you or Jerry Eze, it'd be nice to know, but the church has a lot to do in terms of getting involved. I know we want to be apolitical because we have many sons and many children, but I think there will come to be a crunch time where the church has to take a position. And the position is very simple. How do we promote more and more good and credible people to get involved in politics? And when we need to choose between one or the other at some critical stage, we need to be able to assess them like Singapore does, their criteria to be president of Singapore. You must be this, you must be that, you must be that, you must be the other one, and so on and so forth. You must not have a traffic offense to your name. So the church can put out its own criteria of who should be and who should not be, and so on and so forth. So that also is very, very important. And also the fact that we need to get a base, a pipeline of political aspirants that we all have to keep talking to and training and developing and getting involved in the process. Very, very critical. And this issue of educating people and not allowing ignorance, illiteracy, and poverty to be weaponized. We must all get involved to get Nigeria back. My brother, I really, really thank you very much. I know coming here today was quite a bit of a sacrifice for you. The notice was a bit short. You had another commitment, but in spite of that, you pulled out to come here. And I think it speaks volumes of your love and your concern for Nigeria and your willingness to pour out of yourself to people and to do what you said you would do to try and educate people and inform them. So I think we have our work cut out. And again, for my sister, Yemisi Ransom Kuti, you're never too old to get involved. There's space for you. So don't think you're too old to get involved in one way or the other. And so we must all get involved and try and rescue Nigeria and get people in the right place. So what is left for me to do is to thank you very much, Tonya. I'm sure we'll be tapping on you again to come and hold another conversation, maybe on another different topic, and also to support the school that we have where we try and train young people to get involved in politics and so on and so forth. Part of what the church can think of doing is putting together a pool of funds and resources to back people, and it could be across parties, who they think are credible people to get involved in this process, because it's very, very expensive process, extremely expensive. And that's one of the things that shuts out the so-called good people. They may not just have the resource to get involved. So again, we must think of getting together a fund that will be like a seed fund that will help people who are good and competent, but do not have the resources to get involved. Thank you so much for this time. It's been precious time. You can see by the quality of questions that came through that people thoroughly enjoyed the session and they really, really want to get informed and educated. We wish you the very best in this sojourn into leadership in Nigeria. And of course, you know where my heart is concerning having good people like yourself involved in the process. Who knows, maybe one day I'll join you also. And with that, I'm 3/4 in anyway, because Astrid has really pulled me in. And people were surprised. They thought I'll be the one to jump in and not Astrid. People that were cut off the same cloth, and he had his own forays in the times of Nadeku and things like that. So him getting in, took a bit of them by surprise, but that's definitely not me. Thank you so much. God bless you. Please give
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Yeah.
Well done. Awesome.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all, everyone, for coming tonight. I am sure you enjoyed the session very much. We had a true King's College boy speaking to us. And
Floriat.
Floriat, with people like you. I think Nigeria has hope. Yeah, Floriat. You're a Floriat.
There are dozens of Lebanese.
Floriat yourself. Yeah, one of the Floriats of the Floriat.
Floriat.
Floriat.